And I just want to say a huge thank you to Timothy Chalamet for taking the time to come out to the Game Awards and present that as a Twitch streamer who doesn't actually exist because they didn't care enough to get people actually involved in the video game industry to come and present their awards. But he's so cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next Link. There we go. All right, you have audio now.
I love being able to talk and being heard by the people.
I hate when OBS does this stupid thing where it changes my desktop audio to none. Okay.
It's weird.
I have a thing to show you.
Okay.
So Allison, as one of my Christmas gifts, and had to give it to me early for obvious reasons, gave me a Mario Advent calendar. Okay. 3 of the days gave me 3 Yoshis. One of them's coming purple because of the green screen. The green Yoshi's purple. The purple one's green, I swear.
And
so I have 3 Yoshis. I still haven't got Mario. The day 1 was Luigi.
Oh, that's good day 1. That's a blessing.
That is a solid day 1.
That's a sign that we are going to prosper. Blake, is your ring light on?
Yes. I had to change.
That's unusually fuzzy.
Yeah, I had to lower the similarity because my face was green screening out. I don't know why. So,
hey Blake, I have something funny I want to say, and I've been planning this funny thing for like 3 weeks now, and it's way past the time for this to be funny because this happened like 3 weeks ago. So forgive me for my out-of-date joke, but Blake, did you know that when the first astronauts went to space, when they went to the moon, it was empty? And that's not boring. That's cool.
What
Do you not know what I'm talking about?
Is this a reference to Starfield?
This is that is a direct quote from a response that Bethesda is writing on bad reviews of Starfield with people saying the worlds are empty and it's boring, and they're like,
Yep.
Have you not? Did you know that when the first astronauts went to the moon, it was empty? It's not boring.
Bethesda. That's not the response. They were in an interview and someone asked, like, what do you think of the backlash? She's like, yeah, we're not getting that much backlash. Everyone says really enjoying it. It's all positive feedback. It's like, no, Todd Howard, you're only reading the positive feedback.
There is no Warren Bossing say.
Yeah.
There is no negative feedback for Starfield.
Why is my mother...
Game of the year, game of the generation.
My mother is calling me in my podcast. I'll call her later. I'm going to call her later.
Yeah, I just literally read that when it first happened. I was like, that's going to be my opening for the podcast. And then we postponed twice. And it's not left me.
Jesus Christ. Look, that podcast was not 3 weeks ago. It was like 2 months ago.
No, it wasn't.
It was September or October. It's October.
Our last podcast?
No, the Starfield podcast.
Oh, no. But this happened way after the Starfield podcast. This is more recent than that.
I didn't even see that interview.
No, it's not an interview. They're going on Steam reviews, and they are copying and pasting that response to people's negative reviews to tell them that they're wrong for not liking Starfield. And so one of the negative reviews was somebody was saying, I didn't like how the worlds were empty. And their response was this really long post, but like one of the things I remembered most of it was they said, like, when the astronauts went to space, it was empty. And that's not boring. Because the person was like, this was boring for me. That's like a real review that they posted.
I'm looking this up. I believe you.
They actually were doing that to all the negative reviews for a couple days.
This is so ridiculous. Yeah. Oh my God. I hate this. I hate that I'm looking at this, right? Todd Howard. I know it's their PR team. Still not great.
Like, what do you think you're getting out of this other than just looking a little desperate and a little bitter?
Todd Howard needs to stop, dude. He needs to realize his old methods of making games from the late 2000s are done. Like, they're outdated now. It's time to move on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, you're frozen. Oh, now you're back.
Okay, I was wondering if that was me or if it was the stream because my stream started stuttering and spinning, and then you stopped. I stopped being able to hear you.
Oh,
That was spooky. Didn't care for that.
welcome back.
Um. Anyway, speaking of Game of the Year, congratulations to Baldur's Gate 3 for pulling it out. We knew you would.
Yeah, just FYI, we wanted to start today by talking about Game of the Year because it just happened, but majority of this is going to be about Mario RPG. But yes, very well deserved to Baldur's Gate 3 and not Spider-Man 2.
And I just want to say a huge thank you to Timothy Chalamet for taking the time to come out to the Game Awards and present that as a Twitch streamer who doesn't actually exist because they didn't care enough to get people actually involved in the video game industry to come and present their awards. But he's so cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're next. Link.
Actually called Blake like 2 hours before the Game Awards, and I was like, because I was telling my family about it, I was like, Blake, nightmare scenario. What if Timothy Chalamet is announcing Game of the Year because he's gonna say Tears of the Kingdom won Game of the Year, and then like off of that he's gonna say, which is fantastic because I'm playing Link in the live action Legend of Zelda movie.
It cannot be Timothy Chardonnay, all right?
It cannot be. But that was I had that fear for like a whole day where I was like, oh no, why if maybe that's why he's presenting, because he's gonna come and tell us all he's Link.
Also, let's give a big round of applause to the voice of Kratos for calling out Call of Duty and Activision going online and being a bunch of piss babies about it. Well, our game sold 10 times what God of War sold. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Chill out, dude.
It gives the energy of like quote unquote nice guy who's like, I'm so nice, and then somebody like says something very slightly that offends them, like, well, did you know that I'm so cool? Didn't you know that I'm so nice? And you're like,
because like, here's the problem. If you're going to release a $70 game in 2023, Call of Duty, do not make the campaign 3 hours only. Do not make the single player portion only a 3-hour game. Okay? Not for $70.
I love comparing that people did in fact pay $70 for that 3-hour campaign, and then people look at Dreamlight Valley that costs $30 and then 2 years later offered a $30 DLC and are calling them greedy and like money hungry and evil, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, dude, no one
Also,
beats EA or Activision or Blizzard.
oh my gosh, yeah, The Sims just released another expansion pack, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't. Not when I'm still so high on Dreamlight Valley. Maybe one day when I have nothing left.
As a person who's never played The Sims, no. I'm good.
Also, quick shout out to my personal game of the year, Dreamlight Valley, who took a whopping 656 hours of my life in 2023. You're the MVP.
The
Love
fact
you, man.
When I saw you show me that percentage, and I'm like, she beat me for like by a long shot of how many hours she played PS5, because I mainly played Switch this year, and then I looked because you showed me it's over 600. She played like 600 something hours of games altogether, and over
I played like 800 something hours of games altogether.
800 something games. And Dreamlight Valley was 695.
It was actually, it's actually embarrassing because they tell you per month what your top game was.
Yep.
And mine top game every single month was Dreamlight Valley, and I thought maybe March/April it would be Resident Evil 4. No. Somehow Dreamlight Valley still beat Resident Evil 4. I logged 78 hours into that game, which is pretty impressive considering the main campaign for that game is about 15-ish hours. And that's on first playthrough. You can do it in like 3 hours on second playthroughs, but
especially if you skip all the dialogue.
You skip all the dialogue, all the cutscenes, and like if you do New Game Plus, you can keep all your items from the previous run, and like you get special weapons and things like that. So I thought 78 hours was pretty okay for Resident Evil 4, but it still wasn't enough to compete with Dreamlight Valley. Very, very few things are.
I only played 200 something hours on my plate. Was it 100 or something or 200 something? I sent it to you. Hold on.
I don't know. My friends also sent me theirs today, and I have one friend who had Call of Duty Modern Warfare as one of her top games.
Mine was 216 hours total on my PS5. I played significantly more Switch than anything else this year. Like, not even close.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty accurate for you. I think the only thing I really played on Switch, I did in like the end of summer-ish, fall back into Animal Crossing for like a good month or two. But I think other than the game we're discussing today, I think that's pretty much... Oh, no, you know what? Tears of the Kingdom. That happened this year.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. I had over 130 hours in Tears of the Kingdom.
I have no idea what mine is. I think it's around that.
Every time...
Probably a little less.
Every time I go to my brother's house, he's already beaten Tears of the Kingdom, but he's still playing and finding new things. He has over 350 hours in Tears of the Kingdom.
We're such different people. By the time I beat that game, I was like, I don't even have the energy to go back and find the last like 3 shrines I need to like beat all the shrines. And every now and again, I open up the game and I'm like, today's the day I'm gonna finish all the shrines. And then I open up the game and I look at Link for all of 3 seconds and we make eye contact, and then I turn off the game.
I finished the shrines. If Nintendo had a achievement system, which they need now, that is one thing I'll say they're out of date on. They need an achievement system of some kind. Give me that dopamine hit. I would have gone for that finish. You're frozen again, M.
I heard you cut off for a second. That was scary. Oh no! What a horrible face for me for those few seconds. Absolutely terrible.
What is happening with you today?
I don't know. My internet's probably bad. Also, I just wanted to say before we move on to Super Mario RPG, because we got some stuff to say about that, but I think it's just important that every platform possible calls out what I felt was really disrespectful behavior at the Game Awards with ushering off people. Like, first of all, it's the freaking Game Awards. It's about the games and the people who make the games. And most of the awards, they didn't even like let people come up to the stage to talk. They just like did them in rapid pace. Where they just be like, here's the category, here's the winner. Next category, here's the category, here's the winner. They spent significantly more time like toting around celebrities and letting Gonzo, is that who they brought out? They did like a 5-minute skit with Gonzo. And they let like Anthony Mackie come out and like just take over the stage. And that's like, this is rare for me very much. What?
Do not disrespect my New Orleans boy.
You know, I'm not disrespecting Anthony Mackie as a person. He just had nothing to do with any video games that are on the list, and he just talked a lot.
Yeah, no, agreed.
And then, you know, as much as I love Hideo Kojima, as much as I think he's an absolute genius, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the table, he showed like a 30-second clip that had no gameplay and no information, and then talked about it for a really long time. He got more time on the stage. He got like 10 times more time on the stage than the Game of the Year winners did. To talk about winning Game of the Year, the biggest award, while they were talking about their like teammate, their like cast member who had died in the production of the game.
Which, it was them. There were multiple groups that were just shoot off. It was also the God of War guy. He got shoot off again. There was like 4 or 5 winners who were just up there trying to talk. And
I can't think of his name. The guy from Nintendo who did Zelda.
Doug Bowser? No.
No.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The one who had a translator, though. He had a translator. Because they won Best Adventure Game.
Yeah, I always want to say Nomura, and I just know that's Kingdom Hearts.
Nomura!
It's like my instinct is to be like, Nomura, and I just know that's Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, he was up there. And that's like the frustrating part too, is that they had translators, so they got even less time because everything they said had to be translated. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying they deserve more time because their speech has to be given in 2 languages. And that's just incredibly frustrating. Like, you know, I don't know how much time Baldur's Gate 3 took to make. I'm assuming a lot of time. But like, you know,
years.
That you know, Tears of the Kingdom, for example, took 7 years and so much time and blood and effort. And to say, okay, we're doing this to honor you, but you only get 15 minutes to speak. Meanwhile, Anthony Mackie is going to get a real long time just because he looked at a video game once and we thought that was really cool of him.
I need to make it abundantly clear, and this is a diss of the Game Awards, is because now the Game Awards has become... You go to the Game Awards for world premieres and announcements, but now it's become, hey, we don't have time for the actual awards portion. We're only here for the announcements. Everything else is just, you get 2 minutes and that's it. Go away. And
Did you know Fortnite?
Lego
It's
Fortnite?
out there, guys. Fortnite's out there. I saw like 4 trailers for Fortnite throughout those games. And let's be clear, they didn't get 2 minutes. They got about 30 seconds. There was like, I don't know if you saw like the wrap it up thing.
Yeah, I did. And you heard the music. You just had to hear the music.
Yeah, but I think the wrap it up sign is even more disrespectful.
It was all bad. It was all bad.
All terrible.
Especially, if anybody, Game of the Year, Larion should have gotten a much larger amount of time. This is the last thing I'll say on this too. We should have known. We knew Baldur's Gate 3 was going to win. It should have been solidified when we saw the man in the suit of armor sitting in the crowd, which I saw him very early on, and I'm like, that's strange. And then when they said Baldur's Gate wins, and he stood up, I'm like, yep, that tracks. He knew.
You did, in fact, win Game of the Year.
That man knew before he even like got there. They
he
was
ready. Or he was just very committed to it. He was just ready. He was fully in it. I mean, they knew they were going to win some awards. I mean, they knew they were a big contender for Game of the Year. But at very least, they were going to walk away with a bunch of awards, and they did. But yeah, so anyway, Game of the Year or the Game Awards, very exciting. Lots of trailers for things. I know I just kind of crapped on Kojima for talking a lot, but I am very excited for whatever he brings to the table.
You're going to be playing OD when it comes out for hours, and you're going to love it.
Oh, I absolutely am. I just don't think this was a year to give him like a 10-minute stage time when he didn't have a lot to say.
Okay, cool. We're going to jump on to the real topic of the day. We're going to talk about Super Mario RPG, because we both played it. I have finished it, including the secret boss.
Not.
Emily has not. So we're going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible.
What?
For you.
Oh, I don't care.
Oh.
I don't care.
Okay. So this is a remake of a game that came out in 1992, 3? It was an SNES game. It was developed by Square Enix, and they put Mario into a Final Fantasy-esque type game.
Like?
Yes. M?
Oh, no.
M,
Talk words.
Words. I don't think she could hear me. I can
Hold
see.
Hold on. I can fix this.
Well, guys, what happened?
I broke everything. Okay. Oh.
This is the
Okay, I'm here.
Can you hear me now?
I'm here. Yeah, I like accidentally touched my headphone cord and I unplugged it, or I thought I unplugged it, and so then I went to fix it, and then that actually, me touching it to fix it is what actually ruined it. It's fine.
Anywho, it was a game developed in the early 90s for the SNES, developed by Square Enix. I'm still laughing at you. This is going to be our intro. Thank you for an intro, Em. On accident. Anywho.
I do my best.
It was a remake. Square Enix developed it, make it like Final Fantasy, even including secret bosses in very, very Square Enix fashion. And it was good. It's a very, very, very... you can tell it is what inspired Paper Mario through and through.
So, if you were to sum up your feelings on the game, we'll go more in depth and like get into the weeds and all that. If you were to sum up your feelings on the game in like a couple sentences, how did you feel about it?
I would say great preliminary game to the genre. Couple quality of life changes were needed, but overall a solid 8.1 out of 10.
Pretty on par with you. I think it was, as its own thing, a fun game. It was a good enough game. And you can definitely tell it was the spiritual predecessor to Paper Mario. It had all the wit and the humor in the dialogue that Paper Mario has. And you can tell the way characters, especially like Bowser, were their kind of character design for those games was created here. But like you said, I think a lot of the systems are pretty antiquated. And we can jump into those later. And I think it was a much simpler, watered-down version of what Paper Mario would become.
Do you want to talk about pros or cons first?
gross. Let's start positive.
All right, starting off strong and positive. I'll give mine, and then I'll let you jump into yours, and we'll just discuss as we go. Positives for the game, I think. Story, obviously, it's a Mario story. It's not going to be super in depth and deep. However, I think it was decent. Since it was developed by Square Enix and it was written by Square Enix, it was a good way to introduce you to that type of storytelling without going overboard and just throwing you in. So I would give that as a solid pro because it was more of an RPG for beginners. It wasn't made to be this RPG for, you have a face.
Sure. I have a face because that's actually one of my negatives.
Oh no. Okay. See.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah. I just look at it through the lens. If I thought this was supposed to be built as an art, like a hardcore RPG like Final Fantasy, I would have had a stronger opinion on that. But because,
so sorry, I thought you were done. Sorry.
Yeah, but because I know it was a baby's guide to RPGs, a baby's guide to turn-based introduction RPGs with a character you know and love, and not being too over the top, because it was more focused towards children. I think they did a very good job without overwhelming you. Because if you put a Kingdom Hearts type story in that, my God.
Fair. And I will say before I give any opinions, like Blake said, I have not beaten the game, so there's probably some story I haven't gotten to yet. And, and it's probably just because I knew going into this, like before the game was even announced, this is just something I know for a while. And Blake brought it back up when I said I was going to play this, is that this is a spiritual successor to Paper Mario. This is what inspired Paper Mario. And I think so throughout my whole gameplay, I did, kind of unintentionally compare it to Paper Mario throughout the whole experience. And when it comes to the story, I think Paper Mario is what this should have been. I think the Paper Mario level story is still, I think there's a middle ground between what we were given here and like a Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy RPG story that's like way over the top and it throws you in. I think, for example, Paper Mario N64 does a pretty good job of like, oh, Bowser's got the Star Rod, and there's these 7 stars, and Star Haven, and here's what happens, and here's your characters, and this is our quest for them. I mean, this game kind of starts, it's very slow in the beginning, and then when you do finally get to we're collecting stars, and here's why, it's really just, well, we're collecting stars because we have to rebuild the road, and they'd, describe it in 3 sentences and move on, and I think that's where I struggled because Paper Mario, I do really like the story, and I'm very much a story-driven person, which is why I struggle with a lot of, the Mario platformers. Because I'm terrible at platforming, and also because they don't have a story to entice me. And this was kind of a little weak for me. It took me a lot longer to get into it.
Now, I think the biggest glaring issue with it, and this will kind of prove your point, but at the same time help my point, I think the biggest thing is you have your Square Enix storyboarders versus your Nintendo storyboarders. Nintendo, I don't believe Nintendo wrote the story here. I think they told Square Enix to dummy it down, and Square Enix does what Square Enix does, and dummied it down too much. But to me, I feel like it still was a good introduction, especially for the early 90s. Gaming as a whole was still relatively new in that style. Like, it was still a relatively new concept. So, and remember, we have to base this back on when it originally came out.
Oh, no. I'm not basing this because they redid it. You want to talk about remakes and, how remakes can't be made Game of the Year. Resident Evil 4 was a remake that came out this year. They removed sections that didn't make sense. They added new sections. They changed old dialogue. They added new dialogue. Luis, who's a huge character in the remake, was barely in the original. They upped his character. You can make changes. And they did. They remade the entire game from scratch. There was room for improvements and changes. And I am not judging this game based off a 1990s game.
Here's the thing Disney and Nintendo are the same in both regards that both are very protective of their IP. And they're very protective of the core, which is why we didn't get a Super Mario 64 remake or Sunshine remake in that collection or whatever. They're very, very weird and stingy about what you do with their IP. So I don't think Capcom is not like that. Obviously, I think they're more inclined to make those changes. Nintendo, I don't expect it from them because I know they're not going to do it. I temper my expectations.
But then I'm still going to judge them for that.
That's
I'm saying,
fair.
like, you had the opportunity to improve and build. I'm not going to say, well, the 1990, like, I'm not going to judge the story because it was written in the 1990s, because this game came out a month ago and they completely remade it. They had every opportunity. They had opportunities, like you mentioned, some, like, earlier, some quality of life stuff they could have improved that they chose not to. You know, like, again, comparing it to Resident Evil 4, that had the original controls were, like, prefix camera angles and, like, the controls were really awkward. And if that played, if the 2023 Resident Evil 4 played like the 2004 Resident Evil 4, I think that would be a big problem. And that's what I felt here a little.
Okay, and that's fair. Then we'll talk about other pros, because we're going to go deep into your cons with that. I got to hear more.
Okay.
My other pros, I didn't play the original. I played a couple fights in the original Super Mario RPG on the SNES. Okay. Couldn't get into the combat. I will say that is improved, especially with the new mechanic. You're frozen again. Oh, you're back. Okay, great.
Dang it. What's happening to me?
That new mechanic, because in the original game, if you were to time your punches correctly, it'd do more damage, but this time they added the...
Dang it.
Oh, my goodness, what is happening?
I don't know. Okay, you're talking about the combat. the combat.
Yes. Okay. So, in the original, you timed your attack correctly, just kind of like Paper Mario, and it would only hit one enemy to just do more damage, kind of like Paper Mario.
Yeah.
This one, they did add the functionality where if you really timed it perfectly, there's timing it right, which just does more damage, and there's timing it perfectly, which attacks everybody. Cool little feature. Loved it. Also, the addition of the star power, where you get your combo meter up, and then you can use that star power depending, and it changes between each 3 character combos. They're not all the same.
You also get Toad's help before you get the third one.
Correct. Exactly. So you even have an additional one that you never get to use it again. Toad's helping. You might be able to. I just don't know how. But yeah, you get the other star powers when you have 3 people, and they change based on if you have Mario, Bowser, Peach. What is his name? I can't think of the frog guy who's not a frog.
Oh, Mallow?
Mallow. I couldn't think of his name. Mario, Mallow, Gene, whoever it is. Like, it's a different star power. It keeps things fresh. Also, what they did, it was kind of like Final Fantasy in the class system. If you played original Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3, you have Mallow, who's... I know you haven't, but it's okay. You have Peach, who's obviously a white mage who heals. You have Mallow, who's obviously a black mage who does more magic and attacks. You have Mario and Bowser, who are Mario is a mix. Mario is a good balanced character. I guess he's a soldier, and then Bowser is definitely a barbarian, where he just straight up attacks everybody. It's very much original Final Fantasy class system, which I do enjoy.
Wait. You didn't mention my boy, what's his name, Gino?
Oh, Gino?
Who is incredible. I got him, and I got his, like, finger shot thing and upgraded him. He does so much damage.
Dude, Gino was as I was growing up and watching Smash releases and people asking for Gino, I'm like, I don't know who this Gino guy is. I don't care. I get it now. I absolutely get it. It's not even just the strength. He's sick. He's just cool.
He is cool. So I'll say on your positive point, I very much agree. I think the combat was the shining star for me. Obviously, huge fan of Paper Mario, so I love turn-based combat strategy. I love the timing thing. To have that Paper Mario 2, love it. That's always been so fun for me, just to kind of, keep it interesting and spicy. Love that it does damage. Love the, the more combos you get in a row, the faster your thing, like your meter levels up, so you can do the ultra, star power thing. Definitely fun. It did have a couple downsides for me. So I had this for Paper Mario 2, where, every fight is a turn-based combat fight, so it can feel really tedious when you're going through lots of areas with lots of enemies.
Yeah.
And I had this particular problem when I was fighting a Shy Guy, and there were like a couple Shy Guys, and I had killed most of them, and there was one left, and he had just my companion had just been downed. But before I could revive my companion, the Shy Guy sang, and I fell asleep. And I was like, dang, he's gonna get an extra turn. I'll have to wait till I wake up. He sang the song 8 turns in a row. I listened to this man's whole personal musical. He strapped me down and he said, I wrote this myself. I'm really proud of it. Please listen. And I just had to sit there for like 8 turns and wait because and he doesn't damage you when he sings. He just makes you go to sleep. So the fight did not progress at all. My companion was down. I was sleeping and this guy was just singing and spinning. And every time he'd be done, I'd be like, okay, this is it. You're done, right? And then his next turn would come and he starts spinning and singing. And I was like, free me. And so right after that, I went into the area with all like the little mushroom dudes that can turn you into a mushroom. And I was so irritated that I was like, forget it. And so I turned it down from normal combat to breezy because I was like, I gotta start picking up the pace or I'm never gonna beat this game. I'm like getting so bored and frustrated.
Did you get to the pirate ship yet or no?
No, not at the pirate ship yet.
Okay. That's where your favorite character is going to be.
Yoshi, I already met Yoshi.
That's where your favorite specific to this game character is going to be.
Oh, okay.
You're going to love him. He is your himbo dreams.
Here's the thing, Bowser in this series, and Paper Mario especially too, and obviously you can tell that his character was cultivated here, and then they expanded upon that in is kind of my himbo dreams in these games. Every time he turns around, he's especially in this game, I love his animation where he has the big crying eyes. Yeah. Love those eyes for him. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, I love you so much. I love you so much.
Especially what they did with him in Thousand Year Door. Let's think about Bowser in Thousand Year Door. It was incredible.
The moment where he he thinks he's found Peach and he runs up to her and she's in a window and starts talking to her and somebody's like, that's my collectible Peach poster, and rips it down and he's just horrified. But I love Bowser.
Which brings me to my last pro. Okay. Character designs, characters, enemies, they're all fun. I never expected anything less from Nintendo and Square, with character designs, but these are just fun. The Smithy Gang, all really, really fun enemy types and different strategies. You already fought the one with the bow and arrow where he blocks one of your things. I thought that was a cool concept. Things like that. I loved all the enemy designs. I loved all the types. The types of fighting. You're not frozen?
I'm here. Okay. I'm here.
I'm now worried.
It did seem like it froze for me, but I'm here.
I do love all the resistances and super effective damage and whatever. I think it was all handled very, very well. Each enemy type was different. The character design was all fun. I love Booster. I think Booster was really, really fun. At first, I was like, I'm going to hate this guy. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, Booster's dope. He's hysterical.
I did like Booster. I did really like Booster. I liked the thing you did in his castle, right at the very end, where you were, hiding behind the curtains. And you had, play the game to, hide behind the right curtain. I thought his was really fun. I agree. I really did like the character designs, specifically the designs. And I think that's all very fun. It did just make me wish, though, that the story was a bit more fleshed out in that aspect, because I remember there's one you get in the underground, the sewers. There's one you find, and I felt like every time I found a boss, I never felt like I had worked my way up to the boss. And I was like, I did it, I found you. I kind of just dropped into an area and it was like, I'm here. And I was like, oh, hi, it's a boss. You're here.
The game is very linear when it comes to that, I will say. The mole dungeon, you did the mole dungeon, didn't you?
The mole dungeon took me, I think, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, because finding the dinosaur sucks.
No, it doesn't.
What do you mean? It took me 10 minutes to find it. Everything else was fine. It was finding that dinosaur.
What? I just followed him. It shows you what room he goes into.
Yeah, but I had to go. I went in that room. He wasn't there. So I kept going around. He was never around. All of a sudden, randomly, he runs into me. I'm like, finally. Like, finally.
Oh, maybe I just got lucky because I just kept following him. It did not take me long at all.
Well, I got unlucky. It took me a while. I did that one on stream. If anybody remembers, that was a couple weeks ago.
Maybe I'll have to go back and watch that.
Well, that's all my pros. So I'll pass it off to you for your pros.
A lot of my pros were similar to yours. I loved the combat. Mm-hmm. I thought the combat system, it did have its tedious moments, but I think that is something that just kind of comes with turn-based games where, like, you know, there's no quick, I killed you really quickly. It's always, okay, touch an enemy, go into a different screen. You have more than just the enemy you touched. You gotta kill them all, and then you gotta get like, oh, here's how many. It's an event, you know, every single time you touch an enemy. And so I do think that gets a little tedious. I do think, again, there were things that, you know, you look at Paper Mario, like the badges and things like that, where I think it could be improved. But this is a very good first step toward that. I think it did a really good job. It's still a lot of fun. I like the different things that the different companions bring to the table. I just think they're a lot of fun. I think the combat definitely is a shining star for me. And of course, my other pro, because this is the game that it is. It's the game that inspired Paper Mario. The dialogue, the wit, the humor, the character, just so fun. I remember right when I first started playing, you go to Mushroom Kingdom, and there's like a girl who like constantly, if you talk to her, she's like, "Oh, you stepped in something," and then you can't move until you do a little hop for her, and she's like, "Okay." But I did
gotcha.
that one, and this guy came running up to me really quickly, and he was like, "Are you the real Mario?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the real Mario." And he's like, "Prove it." And I just did a little hop, and he goes, "Whoa!" And then he turned around and ran off. And it's like that kind of humor where I'm just like, oh, this brings me so much joy. I love just that classic, you know, Mario RPG wit where they just don't take them. Even just watching Peach, and I just watched this today, jump out that there's one moment where Peach is gonna join your party. Basically, the Chancellor is like, "Hey, no, you shouldn't do that." And she's like, "Okay, fine, I'll go to my room." And you're like, "Aw, Peach can't come to the party." And then you like leave the castle, and Peach calls your name, and you look up, and she's like, and then like jumps out the window.
She tries to commit seppuku until she has an umbrella.
But even just like her little like umbrella holding thing as she fell down, and everybody is just like shocked Pikachu face. There's also a moment where and this is at Booster's like tower too, where you can't get through the door, and Bowser just comes charging at the door and bangs it down, and it turns to you and your companions. Everyone's just like, just I love that. I love every time they meet a new character and they're trying to explain the story to them. They do like this whole like acting it out thing. I love it. I love the dialogue. It's so fun.
That brings back the character design / charm. I should have mentioned that part. I didn't. I agree 1,000%. Like the humor, you could tell Paper Mario got a lot of inspiration from it, obviously. And that was one of the aspects. And then after Thousand Year Door, I don't know what happened, and Nintendo just stopped trying.
I think Super Paper Mario is still pretty good.
After Super Paper Mario, if you play Sticker Star or Color Splash or Origami King.
And speaking of other things I enjoyed, and this isn't like, I don't know if I give credit to Super Paper Mario for this one. More so like Nintendo has stopped doing this in recent years, and seeing it in Super Mario RPG was very refreshing. Unique Toads. Unique character designs. Like going into Toad Town and the Mushroom Kingdom and all these different places and seeing like the different types of toads and the different types of moles. Like the moles with the little bows on their back are so cute. And you know, you get to the Yoshi Isle. It's not called the Yoshi Isle, it's called something else.
It's Yoshi's Island.
No, it's called something else.
I don't remember.
It's called something really silly. But they have all the generic Yoshis, and then they have one Yoshi with like cool sunglasses, and like every time you talk to a Yoshi, they make like the dee-doo noise, and when you talk to this one, he's like, nah.
Dude, he's a dick though.
It's like, who are you? I've never seen you. Like, it was just nice to get like unique characters again, because you know, I know Blake knows this, but if anyone's not familiar, Nintendo did like in the last couple years say no more, and I don't know if this applies to characters other than Toad, but like no more unique designs. Essentially, like all Toads are going to look exactly the same except for maybe different colors, but like maybe different color like polka dots on their head. Not that's it. Yeah. There's nothing different about them. And so going back to a game where they all look a little different, that was exciting. They actually have
hair.
age. Yeah, some of them are children, some of them are adults, some of them are elderly, some of them have hair. It's just
some of them are getting married.
Oh my gosh, felt so terrible for those people who had to get kicked out. But yeah, just two big positives: the wit, the humor, and the fun characters, and the unique character designs again was really exciting. Other positives, I do like the level designs. I like that they're pretty short and sweet because it keeps, things interesting and spicing things up. You don't get stuck in one area for too long where you're like, you don't have like a water temple situation where you're like, I've been here for 5 years and I'm never getting out. But on the other hand, sometimes I felt a little too fast. Like I said, I think I did the mole mines and then Booster's Tower. I just kept climbing. I was like, I know Peach is at the top. And I think I made it up to the top of Booster's Tower in maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Did you do the Booster's Tower portion where you had to jump off a platform and hit it was a bonus thing for a chest, but you hit a little seesaw contraption with a Shy Guy on it, and then he launches you super high into a chest? Or did you not go through every room?
There were 2 seesaws I found. And one was the Thwomp, who sent you up.
Yes.
And then the other was the bomb on the first floor.
Yeah, it was bomb. It was a bomb. It was a bomb. That's what it was.
But I couldn't. I jumped the seesaw, but he didn't send me up high.
Maybe it's the wrong one. There was one where it sends you really high up, like from where you see the chest from where you're jumping, but you have to hit that platform, and it's actually hard. It took me a couple tries, which is why Booster's Tower took me a while.
Some secret chests in there, but maybe I missed that one. There was at one point I hit something and it was like, oh, it made a sound from below, and I was like, I'll go check that out in a minute. And then I just kept climbing, and then I made it to the top, and I was like, maybe we won't be checking that out. And then so I feel like the levels went pretty. I feel like each level was basically composed of, except for Booster's Tower, and I think Booster's Tower is my favorite because it had a certain element of puzzle to it. They have the line where it's all the frames and it's like pick the frame from the first to the last, and you have to like remember that from the lobby. And just like little puzzles here and there, whereas like the mines and the levels before, they didn't have any like temple puzzle-esque things. It was kind of just like progress through the series of rooms, fight enemies along the way, get to endpoint.
You have a couple more dungeons to go through. You will, if you love puzzles, you will really like the pirate ship.
Okay.
It is one big puzzle. It's a good time.
I'm excited for that. I did feel a lack of puzzles in the first couple, so I was excited when we got to Booster's Tower, and it seemed to kind of mix things up a bit. It was fun. I liked that one.
The last dungeon is a little platformy, but it's still got puzzles.
Oh boy.
It's still got puzzles.
So we want to talk about negatives?
Yeah. All right. We got some cons. I gave combat a pro, but it does have a glaring con, and I don't know how to describe this perfectly. So,
I can't wait.
Yeah, this is my biggest issue with the combat, and I've been waiting to talk about this the whole time because this is my biggest glaring issue, and I think this is where a lot of people had time, was timing those perfect attacks. Because here's the thing: when I do it in Paper Mario, you don't necessarily feel something, but you get this haptic feedback, a sound or something that lets you know, okay, I need to press right this second. You have a rhythm to it and makes sense. When I equip a new item or something, I can never get that timing. That feedback's not there to get the timing down for each single one. Like there's no indication. You occasionally get a little exclamation point, but it's not helpful. There's no sound that comes from it or anything. Like there's no feedback to guide you to get that rhythm. And I felt like it was a guessing game all the time. I like having that type of feedback whenever I do, even just a game that doesn't have the bonuses. If I'm playing Spider-Man, I like having sound effects, things like that, or even just a little controller rumble or whatever. You don't get that here. It's weird, a weird gripe, and I know it may not resonate with everybody, but it's something I definitely noticed.
I do feel like I noticed that maybe sound effect wise, there weren't many sound effects. I I'm not gonna try to sound braggy here. Pretty good at the timing things. So I had problems when I encountered new enemies with being like, okay, what's your moveset? When do you hit me? And when is the right time to do this? But like, I could be real. I didn't really have that issue.
I had it every time I switched to a new item for a long time. Like like Mario's hammer versus Mario's fist are two completely different timings.
And I think that's fair. For me, that was more just like, okay, yeah, I've gotten something new. I just have to like learn how to use it and like grow. It felt like it was part of the strategy though, to be like, you have to study it and learn the timing on your own to be like, okay, because like for enemies when they come up to me, I would look at them and like try to memorize like the things that they did. Like there was one like the little thing with like the little turtle thing that you find in the mines. It goes like 1, 2, boom, and like I found myself counting those in my head to be like, okay, this guy does the 1, 2, boom, and like I had fun with that though. But like I understand like I think there might be a need for more of it.
I lost you again. Hold on.
Dang it!
Unfortunate FaceTime. All right,
no!
we're good. Oh, we
Why?
lost her.
Nobody look. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
You're good. You're good now. You're back. You can show your face.
Okay. This is giving me so many insecurities. Sometimes I'm like, I look pretty okay today. Well, just wait for your camera to freeze on you for 30 seconds, the most horrifying face ever, and you're like, oh my goodness. Terrifying.
Anywho, as I was saying, yeah, I just like having feedback. Because even when I was successful, I just didn't feel like I had that feedback. I felt it.
Really, when you were successful? Because I feel like when you were successful, you got more of like a vibration, and it like made the whole like the number was a different color, and then you could feel it when it like resonated throughout the arena to be like, oh, you got the other people too.
There was some like when I got it perfect, I felt that feedback. But once again, there's that initial with Paper Mario. I have a visual feedback. I have a visual meter of when I need to get it perfect. Geno is the only exception. I think Geno is the only exception because Geno has a visibility meter every time you use one of his specials. You have the star thing that goes up, and you kind of know when to time it, right?
I guess I just think like in Paper Mario, you mean like when you hold the hammer back and it's like beep 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 beep, and you like let it go. I think it's more like in Paper Mario when you jump, there's no visual for that one, or like blocking, there's no visual for that either.
In Paper Mario?
Yeah.
I got that way more in Paper Mario than I did in RPG.
Well, I mean, like when you jump on someone as Mario, I don't think there's a visual indicator of when you're supposed to press the button.
Yeah, I think I'm poorly conveying this.
No, I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, there's a weird feedback I'm not getting, and it's a minor gripe. It's probably the most minor of all the gripes I have with the game.
But I think that's important to like to know. Okay, this was I did it right this time.
Yeah,
and have more of like that reinforcement so you can continue to get it right. Because I mean, like I said, I did memorize, but then there would be times I'd leave an enemy and then I'd come back to an enemy and be like, oh shoot, I forgot what your thing was, and now I'm gonna get hit again.
Right.
Negatives in terms of combat. Something, and maybe this was just me. This might just be me outing myself as not being very good at the game. But I felt the power levels in the beginning were very odd. Like when I first started, it felt like we were very evenly matched. And then for the most part, I did feel me and the enemies were very evenly matched. But then I think around the time you hit the tadpole place, you get a lot of new enemies whose attacks can't be blocked at all. They can't be blocked. They can't be resisted. And when they hit you, suddenly they'll do like 18 damage. And you only have like 30 to 40 HP at this point. And I was like, that's so wild. Like every enemy up to this point has been doing like 5, maybe 4 or 3 damage.
Yep.
And this guy just did 20. And I felt like I got a lot of those random enemies. And that's, again, why I turned it down. Because I was like, this is crazy. Like, it felt like the leveling system was, I couldn't gauge if I was under-leveled, or like if it was just this guy was over-leveled, or where I was.
Yeah, I felt that at a lot of different points, but the problem with me, because I say a lot of different points. I felt once or twice. I over leveled. Like anytime I saw an enemy, I fought the enemy on purpose. I
Yeah.
significantly over leveled myself, which brought the game to feeling a little too easy, except for the end. The end is where things got a little spicy. Still haven't died. Never died in none of my playthrough. Never died once.
I did die. I've died twice so far, and it really was from like, and I think I'm pretty good about being like, I'm not going to ignore enemies because I want to get those points, which is why I started to feel the game was a little tedious, because I was fighting every single enemy I came across. But sometimes you would just get a random enemy who'd be like, yeah, you can't block this whatsoever, and it's going to do 22 damage. And I was like, wild, where did you come from? I'm on level 2. Like, so that was a big one. Also, another complaint I want to talk about, and I want to talk about it because it made me so livid throughout this whole game, and it felt like such a quality of life system. The map. I hate it. I despise it. It has confused me. I have been lost. I've been hopeless because of that stupid freaking map.
You're talking about the world map or the mini
Yes.
map? Okay.
For those of you who don't know, the way this game works is it's not like Paper Mario where everything is connected and you can be like, oh, okay, this is Toad Town, and 2, like, screens away is this place, and 2 screens up is this place, and 2 screens left. There's no... You can't map it in your head because that's not the way they are actually laid out. It may look like that on the map,
Yes.
but they're not. So, like, if you, like, on the map, it'll be like, Mario's house is here, and to the east of Mario's house is the Mushroom Kingdom. So you'll be like, okay, let me run east. And you go, and then instead of going through that path and then coming out in the Mushroom Kingdom, you have to go to this mini-map. And then you have to tell the mini-map you'd like to go to the Mushroom Kingdom. And then you have to take this path to, like, fight enemies on the way to the Mushroom Kingdom. And that was such an unnecessary and confusing step a lot of the times. Like,
Hold up. I never had to do that once. If I wanted to go to the Mushroom Kingdom, I just went to the map and clicked Mushroom Kingdom and went there. Straight there.
But you can't do that the first time. The first time you have to go to the mini-map and tell it where you'd like to go.
Yes, so, the first time, yes,
and correct. This is the perfect example. So when you go to this place called Rosetown,
yes,
and you get there, the town's in trouble. This is where you get Gino, and you hear somebody say, Gino went to the woods. Gino's gone to the woods. To be clear, to get to this town, there's only one entrance in, and then the back of the town is a bunch of woods. And there's this little tiny path that goes into the woods, but there's like a bush blocking your way. And it's like, okay, Gino went to the woods. So obviously, my mind is like, the woods are right there. I see them. There's this little path. And I kept trying to run, and I was like, this bush is blocking my way. I must have to complete something before this unlocks for me. And I spent a ridiculous amount of time in that town being like, how do I get to the woods? The woods are right here. I can see them. They're to the north and the east. I came from the south. What you had to do was you had to leave the town the exact same way you came, and then go to the minimap, and then tell the minimap you want to go to the forest, the new path to the forest that has just recently opened that was not there 5 minutes ago that I would not have known to go to.
I never had that issue. I never had that issue. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I never ran into that thing.
You know, like, you want to talk about visual cues, and like, what was my visual cue when I went into this town and they're like, Gino went to the forest, to be like, yes, logically, I leave the same way I came in, because what was behind me was the tadpole pond. I came from the tadpole pond. The forest was in front of me, and there was a little path there. There was no indicator that I needed to go back on myself, back the way I came, to unlock a path that had unlocked without any knowledge or alerting me whatsoever to go to the forest.
Just you wait until you get to the part of the game where I thought my game had a bug. Just you wait, because that's going to be the most confusing map portion for you, period.
So stupid. I was like, why didn't... This is one of those things where I was like, Nintendo, I think this was a quality of life thing that you should have done.
They should have fixed it.
Why couldn't I just, like, there was even a little path that went straight into the woods behind the town. Why wouldn't you just let me walk through that path in the woods? Why did I have to go back the opposite direction of the woods to take a secret new... I digress. I could complain about this for a long time because it has gotten me lost on a number of occasions, but...
I had another negative. Oh, yeah. I have my final negative.
Okay.
And this one's a little bit more major, but not quite. It's not still not the biggest deal. And this goes back to quality of life. We talked about quality of life changes. We talked about visual changes. Somehow the game still feels dated.
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm playing an SNES game. Just in 3D, somehow.
Yeah, when you get a cutscene, I'm always like, wow, this cutscene looks real good. But something about the environments and, like, the text bubbles and everything, like, regarding the aesthetic still felt very dated.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And also, because I just remembered again, I'm going to forget, those damn hidden treasure chests suck. There's no easy way to find them. They're terrible. Are you
jumping around the screen like a monster, being like, where is the chest? Where is he? And never finding him?
Yeah. Trust me. I was like, this is stupid. This is so bad.
I remember I found the first, right after you get the badge, I found the first couple in that room with Ease, and I was like, bro. And then you go to the castle, and it's like, there's a hidden chest in this hallway before you meet the Chancellor. And I was like, cool beans. I jumped around that room for like 20 minutes before I was like, forget it. And now half the time, if I can't find it within like 30 seconds, I'm like, forget it. And I just move on.
Yeah.
They're really difficult.
It wasn't worth it. I gave up.
But jumping back real quick, because I want to talk about the aesthetic a little more.
Yes.
I think you're right. It did feel antiquated. It did feel like you were still playing an older game. And I think specifically, maybe I felt like I was playing a Square Enix game, if that makes sense. Just like you look at the difference between the Mushroom Kingdom and the Toad Town in Paper Mario vs. Super Mario RPG, whereas like the Toad Town in Paper Mario is like this cutesy, charming village. Like everything's very colorful. The toads are colorful. You got like little bakeries and things like that. And then you look at this one where it's very medieval. It's gray and everything is gray. And it wasn't very colorful. It did feel very much like I was playing a Final Fantasy / Square Enix game where I was like, ooh, this is not the cutesy Mario aesthetic. It felt very ill-fitting for Mario.
Nomura's putting Mario in the next Kingdom Hearts game, confirmed.
You know what? Honestly, it felt like that a lot of times, like the whole Sora, Donald, Goofy in like the Pirates of the Caribbean world aesthetic, where I would be like Peach in her pink dress and Mario and like this cloud boy and this puppet. And then we're standing in the like gray medieval castle of like the Mushroom Kingdom. And I was like, this feels very ill-fitting.
I agree. And now that you mentioned Mallow, and I forgot this earlier, this is probably my favorite moment of the game. And this goes back to the charm. The moment he said, I'm a frog, I clicked next. It's like, so Mallow joins your party, and I'm just yelling at the screen on Twitch. I'm screaming, he's not a frog. He looks nothing like a frog. Get to the next part of dialogue. Who looks nothing like a frog. I'm like, all right, Nintendo, thank you for hearing my cries.
It was funny because, like, his intro, too, is, like, he has this moment where he's crying, and, like, they have this whole cutscene of, like, the sky, like, raining, and you're like, obviously he's a cloud who's influencing the weather. And then he's like, oh, and I was like, you're a what? But it, and that was really funny, but then I do think it was, like, a little bit of a weaker moment than when you find his, like, frog grandpa, and his grandpa's like, you're not a tadpole, and he's like, devastated, and you're like, you need to go find your real parents, and he's like, everything is awful, I guess I'll go with you, you're gonna help me find my real parents. And then when you talk to people like, why are you here, he's like, I'm finding my real parents. And I'm like, we are? Where? Because I'm going to find these 4 stars. I gotta find 4 more stars, but if we find your parents along the way, that's real neat. But like,
you will be
I don't really know.
You will eventually find his parents.
Are they frogs? I hope they're frogs.
I just want you. The boss of that level is like is probably the funniest. It's one of the funnier sections of the game. You'll like it. You'll like it a lot.
I'm excited. I don't know when I'll probably get back into it. I played a lot today and yesterday because I was like, I have to like get to a good place where I feel like I've played enough of this game to talk about it. And when I finally got Peach in my party, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm at a good spot. I've done like 4 of the main things. I've got all the party members. I felt good.
She's barely scratched the surface.
How? It's like a 12-hour game.
Wait till you get Gino's better powers. Wait till you get Gino's like ultimate powers. They are sick. Also, there is one boss. I'm not gonna spoil it. Oh my god, there's so many things you haven't seen yet that are really, really neat.
I think I'll definitely beat it. I don't know if I'll be playing it as hardcore as I have been the past couple days, but I will beat it.
On that note, are you ready for after party?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow, 9 o'clock on the dot. Good job, team.
Guys, we're doing great. Also, it's 8 o'clock in God's time zone. On that note, if you don't follow us on Twitch, please follow us. We need one more to hit 50. Also, subscribe on the YouTubes. I think we're 2 away from 50.
No, we need 2 more. We need 2 more to hit 50.
No, refresh.
Did we gain a follower?
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that more in the after party. If you're on YouTube and you like this video, please subscribe down below. Make sure to find Emily and I on our individual Twitch channels. Well, if Emily ever decides to stream again, we'll have to wait till another indie horror game comes out for that.
No, I have an indie horror game. She gave me one.
You can find me at twitch.tv/The Bearded Blake Show. You can find her on
twitch.tv/EmilyJean33 as someday. Some point in time.
Yeah. She used to stream multiple times a week, and then she decided not to anymore. Public shame. I'm just kidding. I'm done.
I'm gonna do better.
On that note, we're gonna go into after party. If you're on YouTube, watch out for after party coming out in a few hours. So bye, everyone.
Bye.